Hello everybody and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips, and as usual I'll start with a couple of announcements. The Inflammatory Bowel Disease program begins today, and if you're watching this after today, we record these classes so you can listen to the first class and then you can participate in the rest of the 4-class series, all right? The second thing is the next Tuesday noon class is going to be on my new film and book called Diet Fiction, so keep that in mind. A couple of other things. I'm going to start another Food Over Medicine coaching class in September, and we have some excellent packages with Food Over Medicine and Diet and Lifestyle and certification courses, so we always package some things up that we think are interesting for you. But if you're interested in careers, we have a whole span of things ranging from starting a Food Over Medicine chapter to being full-time in the education business with us, all right? So send me an email, pampopper@msn.com, and I'll get you information on all that stuff. All right, this I couldn't believe. This came out of, I think, Columbus Monthly or Inc. magazine. I don't remember. I think it was Inc. magazine. All right, so it's about ice cream. I'm just going to read this to you. For the record, Jake Hunt prefers chocolate, but he thought his fellow New Jerseyans might like a taste of home in their cones, so he's making ice cream from Taylor ham, aka pork roll, a processed sandwich meat mysteriously beloved in the Garden State. It's a roll of pork. There's no pretty way of saying it, says Hunt, a managing partner of his family's Windy Brow Farms in Frieden Township, New Jersey. It's not pleasant when you think about pork roll alone, but it's pleasant in maple ice cream, especially with some French toast tossed in there. And then he's got a picture of scrambled eggs and ice cream, and he says at the bottom here, it was just a matter of getting the right amount of meat pieces in the ice cream, says Hunt, who started the ice cream operation at his family's Windy Brow Farms. His experiments with offbeat flavors haven't always worked out. He tried one with mushroom and black truffle with chili oil and honey, and that as an ice cream was not so good. But I have to tell you that maple ice cream with French toast and pork roll, are you kidding me? And people are eating this. I mean, it's amazing. The only reason they're making it is because people are interested in this. So do we have some serious health issues in this country? I wonder, right? Oh my gosh. All right, I had to share that with you. Okay, so this next topic is just kind of unbelievable. This spring, this year, the World Health Assembly, which is an affiliate of the United Nations, met in Geneva, Switzerland. And representatives from Ecuador plan to introduce a resolution to encourage breastfeeding, stating that mother's milk is best for infants. Now, I think it's kind of difficult to conceive that anybody would be against this, all right? I mean, think about it. Who's going to take up the argument that breast milk is not the best thing for infants, right? But you would be wrong about that. U.S. representatives at the meeting demanded the removal of a clause asking governments to, quote, protect, promote, and support breastfeeding, and to restrict the promotion of products that, in the opinion of health experts, can have a negative effect on the health of young children. But that's not all. The Americans who were there went the extra step of threatening the country of Ecuador, saying that if the representatives would not change the resolution according to the directives from the United States, that extreme trade sanctions would be levied against the country of Ecuador, and the U.S. would withdraw its military aid from Ecuador as well. So the Ecuadorian government had no choice but to withdraw its resolution, and then, in response, the Russians decided to introduce the resolution, and the United States did not threaten the Russians, which I'm not sure why they chose not to do that. Maybe it's because Trump is meeting with Putin this month, or right now, or tomorrow, or whenever it is. All right, so a spokesperson for the Department of Health and Human Services, the agency that proposed the U.S. modification, told the New York Times that the reason why the U.S. did this was that the reason they were opposed is the resolution, quote, placed unnecessary hurdles for mothers seeking to provide nutrition to their children. And then the spokesperson went on to say, we recognize that not all women are able to breastfeed for a variety of reasons. These women should have the choice and access to alternatives for the health of their babies and not be stigmatized for the ways in which they're able to do so. All right, now the resolution did not call for the removal of formula from the store shelves, nor did it call for stigmatizing women for not breastfeeding their children. It called on countries to promote breastfeeding as the best way to nurture infants and to police false claims that are often made about formula feeding. So what's up with the United States threatening the country of Ecuador with withdrawing military aid over this? Well, the author of the Times article speculates that the stance of the Americans is due to the U.S. government's allegiance to industry, specifically the manufacturers of baby formula, and there is really good reason to believe that this is true. So I'm going to give you a little history on this situation, which will make, if you're not already nauseous, first of all, because of the pork roll and the ice cream and this, right? I'm going to make you more nauseous now. Baby formula was originally developed for infants who could not be breastfed for a lot of reasons, ranging from death or illness of the mother to babies that are adopted. In the 1920s, research showed that formula-fed infants attained normal growth and development, and so formula makers convinced doctors and moms that formula was the equivalent of breast milk, and then gradually those claims started to be that formula feeding was actually better than mother's milk. And of course, I can't fathom how doctors bought into this, but for this and a lot of other reasons, formula feeding became the standard practice in the United States, which is very unfortunate. I was a bottle-fed baby, and my mother really thought that she was doing the better thing by giving us formula. And when you just think about it, how could we have survived as a species if breast milk wasn't the perfect food for babies, right? But formula is not equivalent to breast milk. Breastfed infants have a lower risk of otitis media, gastroenteritis, respiratory tract infections, and asthma, dermatitis, obesity, type 1 and type 2. I mean, I could go through, in one slide set that I have on breastfeeding, I bet there are 100 references in it, all the things, all the ways in which breast milk is superior to formula. One of them is in the development of the immune system, which is promoted a lot better with breast milk than with formula feeding. In developing countries, breastfeeding reduces the risk of infant diarrheal diseases that can be fatal. Nonetheless, formula makers like Nestle started marketing formula aggressively, not just in the United States, where they really have a stronghold still today, but they started marketing formula in third world countries as superior to breast milk. Aggressive marketing campaigns were launched to convince health professionals and doctors to promote it. Nurses were paid commissions for selling it, and free samples were distributed to new moms. Now, here's the problem with formula in a third world country. It requires money to purchase, which women don't have. And what happens in these countries is they start diluting the formula milk because they don't have enough money to buy enough for the babies, so the babies start to suffer from malnutrition. Clean bottles and clean water to dilute it are needed, and sanitation is still a big issue in a lot of these countries. So obviously, if you are mixing formula with contaminated water, this is not a good thing. Refrigeration is required, and most people don't have access to it. And so as a result, formula feeding in third world countries increases the risk of fatal infant diarrheal diseases. Breastfeeding will protect against those. It's difficult, if not impossible, to provide safe breast milk alternatives in third world countries for the reasons that I just stated. The promotion of breastfeeding is even more important in these countries, and that's what these women were doing because they didn't have another alternative before Nestle showed up and started promoting formula feeding as a superior. I mean, we always export all the crap we do in the United States, thinking that we know best about everything. We've screwed up farming in other countries. We've screwed up infant nutrition in other countries. It just makes me nauseous to think about it. So it's even more important to promote breastfeeding in impoverished areas where there are few resources, money is, nobody has any, and sanitation is a big problem. But nonetheless, Nestle continues to this day to promote formula to target markets that don't need it and are more likely to be harmed than helped by it. And the U.S. remains pathetically lax in promoting breastfeeding. In 1981, the World Health Organization developed the International Code of Marketing of Breast Milk Substitutes, which stated the superiority of breastfeeding and outlined guidelines for the honest marketing of formula. Only 1 out of 84 countries refused to sign it. Guess who it was? Us, the United States. I mean, it's embarrassing. I love being an American, but I'm mortified about this, I have to tell you. Under pressure, the U.S. finally signed on 14 years later, but apparently the government still favors the formula industry. When asked once again to affirm the superiority of breastfeeding and to support actions that would prevent false advertising and promotion, the U.S. has once again chosen not to do it. So that is our government hard at work doing the things it does best, which is screwing up things that it shouldn't even be intervening in, like breastfeeding infants in places like Africa. So as you can tell, I'm aggravated about it, starting with the pork and the ice cream and leading up to this. It's just sort of a bad day in America in terms of health and nutrition today. All right, that's all for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think might enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you on Thursday with more news.